Yeah, buddies. Oh, when you say yeah, and then the B word, the animals look up and they go, us, our turn? We're going for a walk? Damn, I just said the W word. I'm messing up big time. Okay, maybe the rest of it won't be messed up. Hi, how are you? I'm all right, because I got this. That's this week's delicious coffee. Portrait Coffee is where we're at this week, out of Atlanta, whole bean coffee, roasted in the west end of Atlanta, Georgia. And what we're dealing with now is an Ethiopia Raro Nasebo. I want to say I've been to the location, but Atlanta's got a handful of really cool coffee shops. So I like the Ethiopian that I was sent. It is so let's look at the flavor notes here. Actually, I'm not gonna waste time going to the website. So we got kiwi, limeade, and strawberry. I will say that it's a natural processed Ethiopian, which I've said this before. Those are, to quote Ricky Gervais, those are my two favorite things in a coffee, is when they're from Ethiopia and when they're natural processed, because you get a lot of fruit forward deliciousness. And that's exactly what's going on here. Kiwi, limeade, strawberry. I will say I'm getting a lot more limeade at the start and in the body. It's kind of limey. And when people hear that in coffee, they're like, the hell would I want to drink that for? But it's not like you're biting into a lime. It just has sort of like a tangy, citrusy sort of like kick to it. And not even the whole way. You know, you just get like bits of that. It's just like kind of part of the ride. Kiwi is hard to identify for me because like, when was the last time any of you had kiwi? I don't know. I want to say I wish there was a bit more strawberry coming through here. I really do. Now, this could cool off a little bit more. Maybe I'll say in the aftertaste, there's like a little bit of strawberry. If I let this cool off a bit more, I think a little bit more of the fruit will come out of there. If you want to find the fruit notes, that's especially the case. So I do this one again, more so than I think most of the ones there's maybe one or two I've reviewed where I wouldn't, but if it showed up, okay. This one I would, I think, go out of my way to get again. And their website has a bunch of coffees. I don't think I've seen this in a website yet for a coffee place, but you can pick between 100 gram and 310, which is like your average bag of coffee is going to be 300-ish grams of coffee. But 100, it's like a good sort of sampling size, $7 for some of these. If you're like, I don't know what I'm getting, let's try it out. Most places are like, no, you get the whole bag or you go to hell. So 2 pounds, 5 pounds. I like that there are options like this. So I might go ahead and mix and match here. I might try a couple. The Rwanda Fuji natural, watermelon and dried. What's with the dried kiwi, you guys? Is your roastery on a kiwi orchard? What are we doing? Portrait? Decaf? No, thanks. This is the Ethiopia I have. It's the Guji region, which, dude, so much good coffee comes out of there. Oh, so look, pretty straightforward, man. If you want a light to medium roast Ethiopian coffee and you want not overwhelmingly fruit forward, you still want a little bit of that classic coffee taste right there in the body, but with, you know, notes of fruit coming in. It's a good cup of coffee. It really is. It's so smooth and balanced. Thank you, Portrait, out of Atlanta, Georgia. And through Drink Trade, that's where these are coming from. I will say this probably came a day or two later than I wanted it, which, not thrilled, but it would have taken longer to go to Atlanta and get it. Last couple days, man, have been mentally challenging. It's out of nowhere. And this is what sucks about having a broken brain, where you'll have a couple days where you are just fucking boom. You know, you are plugging away. You're taking care of everything in the steps that you arranged, and something out of nowhere comes at you. You're like, dude, I fuck, you know, and you're handling it. And then one day you wake up and you're just like, you just feel like there is, not that you've run into a wall, but you woke up and the wall's like right over your head and you can't even stand. You just feel stuck. Everything feels heavy. Everything feels slow. There's just nothing you can really do about it. And you tell yourself you're gonna, and you're like, you know the steps you need to take to have your day go better. Because, yesterday and the day before and the day before that and that and that and that. But for some reason, by the time you're done telling yourself, your brain has switched to, worrying or just feeling hopeless about another thing. And I wish it was as easy as like, no, focus on the task at hand. Get your gym clothes on, go work out, or, make something to eat and feel a little bit better and go outside and get some sun. But there is this sense of power that your own mind has over you that we all kind of know is there until it's doing something we don't necessarily want it to do, that we wish it wasn't doing, and it overwhelms you. And I don't even know if overwhelm is the right word, because sometimes it will completely take the wheel and you're not even aware you're heading down a road that you don't even want to be on until it's well into the day. So you'll feel sort of down or upset or hopeless or obsessive or anxious, or you name the negative thing that's not letting you get things done. And it'll be hours later before you're actually aware of it. And to anybody who's just like, it's willpower and it's any of these things, good luck, man. You don't know what you don't know until sometimes it's 4 p.m., 6, 7 p.m. And then you have this just like tiny little ray of light just sort of come through and you're just like, oh, there's a little bit of hope in the day. And then it's, 7, which still, better than nothing, I guess. But there are people that have it way worse. You can go days and weeks without seeing any light and just not understanding. It's something, there's a switch in your brain that just one day it's off, the next day it's on. Some days it's just like on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, and it's exhausting is what it is. And I've heard people that I know or don't know that well, just go on about how you can, find a way, try this, exercise more, dude, whatever your thing is that you're recommending. I've done it minus, microdosing mushrooms or whatever, ketamine or any of the drugs. I'm sober. So like any of the drugs and all that stuff that take you on these journeys. I mean, I've known some people who've done them and, a little to no effect. And I don't know, maybe there's a few where it's like, oh, that was the thing, but I'm minus any extremes that could actually send me a couple of steps back, because sobriety is important for my mental health. Sometimes you just can't beat it. You can just barely stay afloat. I don't know, I don't want to say beat it as if it's this thing to defeat. It's day to day you're managing something. And I don't know, I guess the best you could say is if you knew someone who had a serious shoulder or knee injury, back, neck, something that like a doctor was just like, there is no cure for that. You're going to have to live with this, which if you're 23 right now, you're like, I don't know anyone who's ever gone through that. We're all going to be invincible. We'll never get injured. So sorry, next example. But, one day you will. You can't tell those people like, oh, there is a magical cure, because it's a physical thing. And with physical things that, surgery won't fix, and any sort of diet changing, exercise, yoga you can manage, but it's still not gonna be gone. There's no getting rid of this. And the last couple days just felt like I was under a fucking mountain. And today, still maybe 40 or 50% of it was there, but I don't know. I just made myself sit down, and first I walk the dogs, and then sometimes that helps, get some sunlight. They're acting silly and dumb, and but the moment you get home and unleash them, that can just go away. And then you're right back to just like there's this like extra gravity at work, that is physically sometimes pulling you down. Like I'm standing, right? And I just feel this pull of like, I want to go lay on the couch or in bed or just on the ground and just be like, it's kind of crazy. Fortunately, like, I have things I need to do, so I can't, but sometimes it slows you down to where you're doing them at like 12% and you might as well not be. But I never try and think like I can beat it, or I'm just going to completely give up. I find whatever window I can. And I always think to myself, there are people that have mental, psychological struggles that are way more difficult than mine. And they can't, the get out of bed part, go walk the dogs, make some coffee, busy your mind. They can't even do that. And sometimes I use that, I suppose, as like, you take what you can get and you sort of push in the direction to get it moving. And I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what did it today. I don't fully know. The new coffee came in earlier, and I was like, oh, that's going to be nice, make a cup of coffee. But I found myself wanting to go run errands that weren't necessary, that could wait till later. Like, oh, I got to go to the market and get this, or maybe I need to go to this stationery store. And I'm like, there's a reason I'm pushing myself towards those meaningless things, because they're distractions. I'm procrastinating. And when you're feeling, down and depressed and sort of just hopeless and anxious and all these things, it almost feels like less pressure to do those meaningless tasks. I think doing something important, there's so much more weight on it when you're feeling that way, that you're like, well, it won't be as challenging, and if I don't do it right, it's not going to be painful, or it's not going to make me even more depressed. How much more depressed can you get going to the market to get chickpeas to make hummus? Over the years, I've built this toolkit of things to access when I'm like, why am I thinking this? Why am I feeling like this? And sometimes you can identify why you're, obsessing over doing something meaningless. And you're like, oh, that's for the temporary escape from all the things I'm worrying about. When in reality, you should dive into the thing you're worried about and chip away at it. And by the time you're done, it'll feel better. Like if you don't want to go to the gym because you don't like the way you feel or look, you're still going to feel better having gone. It's not going to change anything, but the stuff it does mentally is going to have a really positive effect. And sitting down to write something, like, oh man, I'm feeling extra useless and not creative and all these things. But again, every single time I've sat down to do it, if I don't create anything useful, I'm still better off having done it. And sometimes your brain will go extra hard in the other direction. Like going to get chickpeas becomes the most important task. It's the most important journey you'll ever set out on. And your brain is like, that's the only thing that matters right now, is going to get those chickpeas. And I found myself obsessing over that. And I was like, oh, I'm doing it again. I'm avoiding a couple of important tasks because I already feel so useless and hopeless that that's going to make it feel worse if I attempt them. And then I'm like, nope, there it is. I couldn't do that the last 2 days for some reason. And my brain didn't even let me get there because it was just smothering me, and try telling an invisible force to stop smothering you for a few minutes. One of my goals is to find a way to express what it actually feels like to have this invisible force that lives inside your brain not letting you live, not letting you drive where you want to drive or feel how you want to feel. And it's like it's taken the wheel and you're in the trunk and you can't get out. There's no escape latch. And there is nothing to do in those moments to snap you out of it, because you're saying, when people say snap out of it, they're saying use your brain to snap you out of this thing, but your brain is currently not under your control. What can you do? I can't tell if I'm rambling now or if I'm even making any sense, but honestly, sometimes just talking about it on this is one of the few things that can help. Getting it out of your head and saying it out loud takes away a lot of the power that those feelings have. When you say it out loud, especially this is like technically to someone, it's a camera, but it's, it's still like another voice. Cause when when your inner monologue is going at it, it's hard to differentiate which one's real. And I mean, because they're both real. They're both there. They're both parts of your brain going at it. But I think sometimes when you say it out loud, you sort of realize like, yeah, it's not real. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you will talk out loud to yourself or whatever, and it sometimes reinforces the negative thoughts. But everyone has their own ways of going about it. But if you have one that I haven't maybe tried, again, one that's not some hallucinogenic trip into another dimension, and because again, I'm sober, I get that it works, I get that it can be great, but if you have one I haven't thought of, or that I haven't tried, if you know anything about me, I'm willing to give it a go. Dude, I've been having less coffee. How about that? That's how bad I want to not feel bad. I was thinking on the topic of having less coffee. I was getting coffee yesterday, and I don't know that I'll ever understand when someone orders an espresso and then they get it to go. It's 2 ounces of liquid. Drink it there and go away. Either you're in such a hurry that stopping to be like, and then to finish it, because that's the longest it could take to drink an espresso. But you're saying that you're in such a hurry that if someone go, oh, we're out of to-go cups, do you mind having it for here? And you'd be like, I'll get fired. No, I've timed my day so precisely that if I were to stop and drink this espresso here, I would be fired from my job. And if that were true, the time you took to just explain that to someone, you'd be done. You'd be done. Your job's gone. So no one's breaking their day apart that precisely. So it can't be that. It's also a huge waste of paper to do that. And how are you enjoying? I mean, it's like the to-go cups for espresso are that big. So you're walking and taking the 2 sips that it takes. Like you could, if you were to like slightly trip, it's gone. The drink's gone. Or does it take you so long to drink your espresso? You're like, no, I'm not going to drink it here. You want me to get an espresso to stay? Look, some of us have jobs to get to. I'm not going to drink this espresso that normally takes me 6 to 7 hours to finish. I'm not drinking that here. Okay. First of all, other people could be using this table. So I'm not going to take up space that 7 or 8 customers that are going to be coming in throughout the day while I drink. No, I'm taking this shot of espresso. I'm going to go on my 2.5-hour commute, and this is what's going to get me through it. And then when I get there, I'm still going to have 1.8 ounces left, and I'm going to sip that thing throughout the day. Unfortunately, it's in a to-go cup, so if I have any left over at 5:15 p.m., if I have like 0.4 ounces left of this espresso, I'm taking it home and I'm going to refrigerate it and I'm going to have it the next morning. They shouldn't even have to-go cups for espresso. Like if I had a coffee shop, I would have 0 to-go espresso options. If you were like, hi, I'll have an espresso, I'll go, great. They go, can I get that to go? I'll be like, you can have it here, because if your day is that poorly timed, you shouldn't have even come in here for espresso if you're running that late. You know who needs espresso injected into his veins, apparently, is Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is a great example of someone in power, a rich person in power, who should not have the job he has anymore, but rich and powerful. No one's getting him out of it. You know, if you're like 2 days late in rent, they'll slap an eviction notice on your door. But if you freeze on national television as a senator, they go, maybe. If Mitch McConnell freezes a third time on TV, someone should just walk up and slap an eviction notice on his forehead on national television. You're done. Get out. We're evicting you from the Senate. Here's the thing. I know there isn't an age limit on people serving in public. There's an age minimum. I think it's 35 to run for president. I don't understand why there isn't an age maximum. I mean, there are certain points in life where you can't really do certain things. I think there should be an age maximum on driving. Sometimes you see people just veering left and right, or driving too slow, or just making really like what seem like drunken decisions, but it's like 11 a.m. and you're like, that is an old person. And then you drive up or you walk by and you look, and every single time they're just like, they look like frozen face Mitch McConnell. If you're doing anything with McConnell face, you're done. You're done. That's it. You shouldn't do that anymore. The guy has looked like, let's take a look at what Mitch McConnell here. He has had a frozen face for the last decade. So I guess he could have had moments like this and we didn't really notice, because he's always just like, and the only thing that moves is that, like, you know, fucking rooster gibbs, what do you call it? Damn it. I don't know. Rooster giblet? Giblet. Nope, not giblet. Rooster thing. Rooster neck skin. The waddle. That's what that's called? What's the skin under a rooster's neck called? It's the waddle. Mitch McWaddle. If you're serving in public office and we don't have age maximums, I think the indicator that you're about ready to go is if you already look like your own ghost. You're done. Eviction notice. We don't have maximums on public office, but if you already look like your own ghost, go home. That should be in office? No. And I know that, like, they've been asking some of these senators and congresspeople, you know, like, why do you think you should still be in office at your age? And oh, we have more experience and all these different things. But it's like, if you're 80 something years old and you're like struggling, and also your ideas are outdated, fine, you have more experience than anybody else in the Senate. But I'm okay with someone with like 7 years less life experience, because they're still 73. Dude, I've been feeling, in a lot of ways, I've been feeling old, and you know, it comes at you like your body, or you know, the way other people look, or you'll see yourself in the mirror and you're just like, oh yeah, I don't look in the mirror that often. So sometimes when I really do, I'm just like, oh, what? Oh man, I'm not 32 anymore, you know, or whatever. And sometimes it'll happen, you know, you're not expecting it, and it'll be like moments like you're in the supermarket and you will hear Third Eye Blind song, or some, you know, Pearl Jam or something from like the 90s, where you're just like, oh man, they're playing this in supermarkets now. Ugh. And then you sort of flash back to like, what were they playing when I was growing up in supermarkets? And it was always stuff I didn't know. But now the fact that I know the stuff and it's making me nostalgic, you're like, oh, And you look around, you're like, are there, kids and teenagers walking around with their parents in the supermarket? So I'm like, what is this dumb music? And you're just like, you piece of shit, kid. And they'll have negative connotations with that. In the same way I didn't like 80s music for, a while, because it just reminded me of being bored in a supermarket or wherever, or stuck in a car, the radio station's on. It's not what you want to be playing. It's usually music from the decade before or 2 decades before. And, now it's like, I'm trying not to pay attention to it because I don't want to have new associations with like Pearl Jam and Third Eye Blind and these artists I grew up with that make me, remember like the simpler times and stuff. But like lately, the market I'm going to, it's like they're also playing the same like 10 songs, and I'll keep hearing Third Eye Blind, and then I heard there was like a Backstreet Boys song, and there was, I can't remember the other thing, but I'm hearing them over and over, and I'm like, I really don't want my, my new association with Third Eye Blind to be, I can't afford these apples. Like Third Eye Blind should just make me think about like growing up in the 90s and watching MTV. And now I'm thinking about like inflation and why golden delicious apples are more than they've ever been. I used to think like, I wish you would step back from that ledge was like some sad song about a friend or whoever ready to take their life. And now I'm like, Stephen Jenkins' friend, like worried about inflation? Or was there, it's little things like that, man. It's like hearing the music you grew up with, either a total mystery to some people, where they're like, who's that? And you're like, you don't know. I used to do a bit about that a long time ago, but yeah, it's just, it's going to keep happening to more and more artists, the older I get. But yeah, there's stuff in the supermarkets where you're like tapping your foot along to, and the songs you don't even like, but they at least like sort of let you escape being in the supermarket for a minute, and then you start to associate it with it if you hear it too much. And that's just starting to be a real bummer, man. Real bummer. I have no choice, I think, but to now go to the supermarket with headphones, noise cancellation, playing music that I don't necessarily like, because I don't want to play stuff I like and then go to the supermarket. It's going to have the same effect. Some weird association with apples. So I think I'm just going to play just random today's hits or something like that on Apple Music while I'm grocery shopping, because I can't have that music ruined. And there's just something so mundane about like having to go to the supermarket anyway and walk around and look for stuff, and the cost of things is going up, and just having to look to be like, I can't afford to get that. It's just such a bummer. The whole experience sucks. And I'm not even like a huge Third Eye Blind fan, but I still would rather have it remind me of like carefree times than having to decide between whether I'm going to get golden delicious apples or pitted Kalamata olives. Because there was a day where I could get both. Wish you would step back from that ledge. Oh, man. All right. I suppose I feel better now. I did a thing that I'm supposed to do, and now I can reward myself by going to get chickpeas, the thing I was obsessing over earlier. Now I can actually do that. And chickpeas, one of the costs you don't really have to worry about. They haven't really gone up. Not that popular, I guess. Not that expensive. So hummus, cheap, easy, and I make it so good, dude. You have no idea. No idea. And you never will. That's it, everybody. We made it to the end of another episode. episode. Why is the Zoom so cropped? I gotta bend down at the end of this. Okay. That special's still out. Have you watched it? Did you watch it and did you not share it somehow via your social media? Do that. I added stuff to the Patreon too. I added all new merch things. So go look at that. That's kind of the best way to support this whole thing. And the merch is cool. So go look at that. There's different tiers. There's 3, 5, 9, 18. I think those are all of them. 3, 5, 9, 18. Yeah. And I think it's worth it merch wise. You get something every 3 months. And not for all the tiers, but the 2 or 3 higher ones. But
like, subscribe,
go check it out. I'll see you next time.